I watched like a Ukrainian wall bang a Russian right after that. I sent you guys the video.
I saw that.
Oh, get fucked, bro. Fucking camping in the closet. He shoots this Russian, and the Russian comes out like and then he just shoots them all up. It's not like the movies.
That's not a wall bang if he came out
with high-powered rifles. They're obviously military. And there's a house, and around the corner there's a door that leads to what seems to be an outdoor small storage closet. I didn't know there was a Russian in there. I don't know how they knew there was a Russian in there, but they were right. And they just start
Russians here.
And they start shooting through the door. They put what I think is 2 or 3 rounds into the Russian. He opens the door to come out, and I think he wants to surrender. They're not in a surrender mood. And the 2 guys put, Kyle, do you think they put 20 rounds in him? Oh, Kyle, I think
he's going to count real quick.
Yeah. Oh, I thought they put 20 rounds into this guy, the last 8 or so, while he's on the ground in like the fetal position. And it's like, well, we have a winner and a loser. I hear you, Kyle.
So was it a wall bang?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, for sure.
That guy was shot when he opened the door and came out.
Yeah, well, that's a wall bang.
Yeah. No, I saw another. Did you see the Russian? Was it all those armored vehicles with the big guns that stick out the front like a nose are tanks?
You can call them tank. Yeah,
they're tanks to me. The other people are like, oh, no, that's actually an armored personnel carrier tank or so. That's
an amphibious vehicle. You see the treads,
dude. Woody, that falls into that pattern that anyone who knows less than you about it is an idiot. Anyone who knows more is a nerd. It's like shut up, nerd. You know,
it's irrelevant in this situation. You know,
I think the comments called it a BMP, which I don't know what that is.
That's one of those like semi-automatic little like
it's like an APC, but it's got a big gun on it essentially.
Yeah, I'm familiar with all these letters. And so the Russians come over the field. They've got the big nose pointed straight in the air with a white flag on it, and maybe another white flag somewhere else, and they were able to, if I have my facts right, and they came from Reddit comments, so I'm most likely right on the money, that they got $50,000 for like handing over this working BMP to the Ukrainian army. And they came out and real professionally, the Russians like surrendered. And the Ukrainian had like one fire crew running security, the other one sort of taking in the prisoners. And they got themselves a free BMP, which is a tank, I guess. And
go ahead. The BMPs are like our like Bradley vehicles, I guess, maybe something like that. I don't know. It people fit in it like maybe 5 or 6, and it's got like a roughly 30 millimeter auto cannon on top that goes doop 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 doop, and it's got a thermal imager on it. If it's a good
tanky.
One, it looks tanky. What you mean is it looks armored and treaded.
It's got treads on it. That's a tank.
So if I recall,
thank you, Taylor.
Everyone knows this.
I think the way the Russian army, I watched the video there. I think they'll have like 10 tanks in a group, and then they'll have like 30 of these, and then like 300 men or something. And that's supposed to be like the group that's going out. And because they're not doing anything like that, they're just sending 10 tanks and a bunch of those. They're getting like rocketed left and right. And this has been so fun to watch. And today has been awesome. I've been all over the news today. And every hour there's a new video that's like Russians routed out of some useless town or city. They show where the Russians are making their advances. And this guy broke it down really well. He's like, this is Wagner Group. This is the private military, the goons that are paid, the paramilitary group that's paid by Putin. They're making advances. Let's look at this little town they took, according to the Russians. It doesn't have a house. It's a clinic with some sheds behind it. But because they took it, they get a bonus.
Oh.
So the Wagner Group is out there like cheesing. They're conquering
clinics.
They're conquering every outhouse and clinic and dog pound they can get. And meanwhile, the Ukrainians are actually taking meaningful chunks of territory and killing slews of Russians. It's been wild.
I've been watching it tight for the last couple of days. The problem is I don't understand geography. You know, every time like the number 3 guy in ISIS dies and they're like, Al-Nan, never heard of him, Hassan is now dead. This is a huge victory.
Got it.
And I'm like, well, if you tell me. When they took Lyman, I thought they're like, this is a big deal. And they show like a railroad track 8 rails wide. They're like, look at it. I'm like, I guess I can see why that's important, I guess. Okay. But and then now that's just city after city. We're getting the Dumbask region and the mollusk region and the caterpillar region or something else. And I was supposed to be excited about
you got
them,
your finger on the pulse.
I don't know all these towns. I don't know what's big.
Tell us, Woody, where will they go next?
Tell us, what bordering Eastern European country could they go to next, Woody? Which one? Some kind of IA at the end. Estonia, Latvia. I don't know.
They speak vampire wherever it is.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much about geography from this war, as Americans typically do. Did you know that Turkey was in Europe?
Yes.
Yes, Woody.
I see. Other people didn't know that until just recently.
Okay, Woody.
Turkey is an Asian country. It is 97% Asian, and 3% of Turkey is in Europe, unbeknownst to me.
Most of them.
I've met a Turk before.
He
He didn't look Asian, but I think he's that Eurasian kind of Mongolian fella. He was also cross.
Russians don't look
I
Asian.
trust him. No, they're Slavic.
They're Asians, though.
They're more Middle Eastern than anything because Turkey's just Persia, basically.
Yeah.
So it's like the North Middle East area ish.
Well,
Persia's not even a country.
Well, Persia's more like Iran.
Well, yeah, it became.
I mean,
you almost got me. You almost got me.
Didn't Persia became Iran, didn't it?
yes, it did. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you see? So Putin ordered that mobilization, and supposedly it's supposed to be, the reservists getting called up, but they're calling like everybody up, and seemingly they're sending them back. Like I think what it is, or maybe what it seems like to me, is like their organization system is so bad that they were just like, all men come here. Yeah, we've got a list, but it's so fucking hard. Just all of you come here, and we'll go through you then, and we'll figure out who fights. So anybody who's ever fought up to 50 years old has to show up, and anybody who's ever fought who's like a junior officer up to 60 has to show up and fight.
Is this different from that thing they did like a week or two ago? The 3,000
This is that thing, but the way it's being implemented has been weird and different.
I think Kyle's tried to suggest that the
up.
Russian government is inefficient and perhaps even corrupt.
They're rounding people up and just sending them out there, according to some of the people. And the one guy was like, last week I was doing this. Then they took me. 2 days later, I was here. Luckily, before I came to Ukraine, I Googled how to surrender.
Dude, I was watching a YouTuber who seemed to be an expert on these matters. And he's like, just grabbing regular people and putting them with your professional army is not helpful. Because my dumbass heard 300,000. And I'm like, all right, I'll admit that they're not trained or anything. But they're a problem, right? 300,000 dumbasses with rifles are still something to be careful about.
Still have rifles.
And they're like, no, it's almost a subtraction. Your professional army has to care for these people. They get shot. They've got to take them back. Now you've got like people who are worth a shit helping people who aren't worth a shit. And I thought about it. Like, Taylor, let's say you were going to get into a fight and I offered you a 116-pound girl to help you. Would you be like, no, this is just a fucking problem. Now I have this dude in front of me and this helper to deal with.
Or how about this? How about this? Let's say you're going to play Tarkov and I offer you 3 players who have never played before, but they really want to.
Example.
They want to.
You'd be like, guys, you're really a hindrance. Could you not just stay here? I'm going to
know the buttons.
I'll go out. And I'll come
Everybody
back
hears your footsteps, you fucks.
Yeah.
They are very excited, though.
Did they say like what percentage they're assuming are those like untrained conscripts basically of the 300,000? Like all of them, or a huge percentage?
The 300,000 is the conscripts, right? It's the people they're calling up, the reservists, the new ones that they want. 700,000 fled the country.
A lot of those guys are recently retired.
Yeah,
and, they have training.
Some do, yeah.
I don't know if those are like largely guys who are in the military, not on deployment, or if it's like we're running like we're just grabbing 300,000 guys.
So Taylor, I paid a lot of attention to this, and I feel like I can't trust anything I read. That's
the thing is, there's what it's supposed to be, and then there's what's happening. So what it's supposed to be is like what we would do, calling it reservist and former active duty personnel, people with like plenty of experience and stuff and training, and then putting them through some training 6 weeks, maybe 2 months. That's literally what came out of this Russian officer's mouth. I watched the asshole lie to him. and then you'd be, you know, inserted in a unit, or maybe create your own unit or whatever the fuck. And then maybe they take you somewhere. But what's happening, it seems like, is they're taking a broad spectrum of different people, some of which are like criminals. So I saw them advertising at the prisons to sign up for the Wagner group or something. I guess they're pulling them out of prison and like paying them to go fight.
And offering them freedom.
And freedom, yeah, of course.
That's worked historically.
That's like their Blackwater.
I get all my best idea from DC movies.
I watched Suicide Squad. It was pretty good.
It's literally the Suicide Squad. It can't be more of a disaster than that.
Did they have a shark? Do they have a shark man?
If they had a shark man, it would take one shark man to turn the tides here, my friend.
I don't know.
One shark man shows up on the front, and Russia just is like, yeah, this is one
breathe
shark
on land? I don't know.
He'd be useless if not. He'd be worse than having a shark on your team.
On the side. I'd rather just have a shark, just a normal shark.
It's like, here's Sharkman. He's it's like, maybe not good idea to make him in Siberia. Cold-blooded fusion creatures, bad move.
I was watching an interview with some of the tank crew, like a Ukrainian tank crew that's in the fighting now, and they were explaining how they coordinated. So the tank commander isn't in a tank; he's somewhere else with a drone, and he's overseeing the whole battlefield. So he can be like, number 2, flank to the right, 400. Yes, the 3, go over here, hold your position, rotate your gun here, and he's like, he's overseeing the thing like it's an RTS. This is what I've been training for.
It's fun. Dude,
it's similar with a lot of stuff. I've got a friend who was a cavalry lieutenant, and whenever he did with the National Guard, whenever he did his training exercises, the like battalion commander would just set up like a mobile spot, and from there just coordinate where all the tanks and stuff go. So yeah, it's essentially just giant war games. Yeah,
I hope, dude, there's a couple things coming out of this Ukrainian-Russian war that I think could have a permanent change in landscape. Like one thing is whose weapons work, right? Take India. India's been buying a lot of weapons from Russia for a long time. We just watched Russia get butt fucked by American stuff, right? This rumored Russian whatever that they're our peers, not true. The NATO shit is working so much better than the Russian shit that this little Ukrainian army is beating the Russian Empire. If I'm India and I'm buying Russian tanks and Russian artillery and Russian into the whole Russian war system, I'm like, fuck, I'm going to US. The real winner in this thing is going to be Boeing and Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and all those other guys. Guys like India are no longer going to be buying Russian shit. That's a thing. There's some more that I've forgotten. What works in war? Everyone tells me I'm wrong, but I'm like, I don't think it's about tanks anymore. I feel like $6 million tanks are getting beaten by $50,000 javelins all the time. And unless you're America rich, a war of attrition where 50,000 and 6 million are somehow even is a problem.